Hey guys, Metal Viking 82 here, back with a new Viking Orations. Got another review for you yet again today, and this time around I'm going to be talking to you about the debut EP from the band Mulciber, entitled Misery of One, out now on Redefining Darkness Records. And if you're not familiar with Mulciber, they are a death metal band out of Cleveland, Ohio. Been around since 2020, featuring Jeremy Felton on guitars, David Norman on bass, Ian Lanney on drums, and finally Anthony Ramser on vocals. As I said, this is the band's debut EP. It is 5 tracks and just a little under 16 minutes in length. And honestly, I was not familiar at all with this band until I received this promo that I got. And once I saw the artwork and the logo, it was clear to me that this was going to be really good. And was I ever right? This band wastes no time hitting you as soon as you hit play with the heavy guitars, the blast beats, and the killer death growls. The guitars on here have a nice crunchy tone to them, hitting you with mid to fast-paced riffs, along with some nice chuggy sections, some pinch harmonics, and really nice solo work. Some of the riffs at times kind of, in my personal opinion, give off a little bit of that Mick Thompson Slipknot vibe to it, which that might, detract for some people, but I am a huge fan of Mick Thompson and his playing and his guitar tone, and that to me, when I heard that, was a plus in my book. Really thick toned bass with just a little bit of a twang to it, and it's very easily heard throughout the EP, despite not being super high up in the mix. And I really liked what he was, the notes that he was doing. Drum production and performance on here are really solid with a good snap to the snare, lots of good patterns, rolls, and fills. I love the double bass work and the blast beats on here. The drums really impressed me on here. Anthony's vocals are a mix of a really powerful mid-range growl with these sick, maniacal screams on here. And when I was listening to this, I got to thinking, really honestly, he reminded me, depending on which vocal style he was using, he was reminding me of a couple different people. For instance, his growl really reminded me of Tommy Dahlstrom of Aeon. And then when he was doing those 6 screams, he was reminding me of, and I'm totally going to butcher the first name on here, Saichi Miyata from Intestine Ballism. Some of the things, vocal things that I picked out, the lead-off track, Caught in Fire, at the 118 mark, he does this really killer 10-second long scream that was really reminiscent of Lord Worm in Open Face Surgery. You guys know what scream I'm talking about. Obviously, his scream wasn't nearly as long as Lord Worm's was, but he sounds so much like Lord Worm right there. I just thought it was really badass. And then the follow-up track, track number 2, Forsaken Lies. After a really killer bass bomb, as I like to call it, it's actually called a bass drop, but bass bomb was a term I came up with one time because I couldn't think of what it was called, and I had to have somebody tell me what it was called. So yeah, if you hear me say a bass bomb in a review, I'm talking about a bass drop. This is my own little term I coined. But anyway, after this really killer bass bomb at the 214 mark, he goes even lower and almost gets guttural with his growls, and it sounds so badass when you combine those two elements. The only other thing I picked out on here, track number 4, Christ Deceiver. I just love that opening riff and double bass combo, as it really reminded me, and again, I'm going to bring this band up again, it reminded me a little bit of the opening to the song Spreading Their Disease by Aeon. It's like when I heard it, I kept thinking, man, why does that sound familiar to me? I was getting the same vibe. I was like, what does that remind me of? And then finally I thought, let me check this out. And, I get the similar feel to it. It's not exactly, the same, but close enough that it really gives off that same vibe, which, that's one of my favorite songs by Aeon. So that was really cool. Overall, I think this is a killer debut from this relatively young band. I mean, they've only been around since 2020, and they've already put out a killer EP. I was seriously impressed by this EP. It's heavy and aggressive, but also shows that the band knows how to settle into a nice headbangable groove. And honestly, I think this is a band to keep an eye on. I am definitely going to be picking up a copy of this. I haven't yet to do that. Thankfully, from what I saw in Metal Archives, this is not a limited edition, because I know Redefining Darkness a lot of times limits their CDs to like 500 copies or so many copies, and it's like, there's, as far as I can tell, there's no limitation to this. So yeah, I give this a solid 9 out of 10. Go check out Mulciber. I will be leaving a link down below so you can check this out for yourself. And yeah, that is going to do it. Thank you guys so much for watching and subscribing, and until next time, stay brutal.